UFC 319 just recently wrapped up, and I'm going to recap the entire card. I'm going to start with the first fight of the night and then work my way up to the main event. We saw Hamzat manhandle Drickus du Plessis for 5 rounds and become the new middleweight champion. There was also some exciting knockouts, spinning elbows back to back on the main card. So looking forward to talking about all things 319. Let's get into the first fight though. Ultimate Fighter finale in the flyweight division started the card off. It was actually a really big upset. Alibi Idiris was like a 4-1 favorite coming into this one. Undefeated Kazakhstan fighter, looking at minus 550 actually day of. He got handled and he got submitted. Joseph Morales looked God mode out there. Striking was better. Wrestling was superior. Strike output was there. This guy looked like a legitimate problem in the middleweight division. And I was really blown away. If you watched his most recent fight on The Ultimate Fighter against Imanol, he looked all right. He kind of got a lucky decision in a competitive back and forth. But damn, has he gotten better since the Tough House? And you know what? I'll say this too. It's another one of those instances where, you look at the second fight on The Ultimate Fighter, that they've been in the house how long? What do they got going on? The mental side of it too, the different coaches. He gets back with ATT. I was about to say, no, Team Alpha Male. And my God, the kid looks like a legit contender. Like he looks to me close to the, top 15 level. He's 30 years old, so definitely in his prime. And he just beat a 10-0 Kazakh fighter who was also primed as hell and on the rise right now. I was blown away by the performance. He ends up winning the fight with a triangle choke. It looked like anything he was doing in the fight was working. So big W performance, new Ultimate Fighter winner. I'm interested in seeing what he can do in this flyweight division. I don't know how far of a jump you run him to, but like, let's say I told you he was fighting Ronaldo Rodriguez. I see him beating a Ronaldo Rodriguez. I feel like he's live in fights of that caliber for sure. So definitely one to watch. And, you have to kind of hope for some success with these Ultimate Fighter winners, right? If not, it like kills the whole show. Like Brad Katona, recent winner, cut from the UFC. Brian Battle missing weight, but I guess he's had some success. Let's see if Joseph Morales ends up thriving. We haven't had like a recent Ultimate Fighter winner become a contender in a long time. Contender series has really like totally overlapped what the Ultimate Fighter would initially do, which is find the next talent. But maybe Morales can change things. Am I actually serious in that? No. I don't think he's becoming a champ. He's 30. He can get some wins. I don't know about him breaking into the top 15, but I definitely think he could fight somebody towards that level. And I'm excited to watch his UFC career start off for a second run. He was 2-2 in the UFC, I believe, first time, or 1-2 rather. Now he's 2-2 in the UFC. Years later, getting it done. I mean, this guy fought Davis and Figueiredo in his early UFC run. So definitely showed that savvy experience. Good win for sure. Let's keep running. Karine Silva, Dione Barboza. This fight feels like it was a week ago, but it was just several hours back. So much happened on 319. First round, Dione Barboza looked good. Striking was better. Takedown game was there. She hit a couple hip tosses or, judo throws, if you must, in this matchup. Second round was close. Got Karine Silva maybe did a little bit more competitive, but I don't know. I feel like Karine Silva started turning up in the second round, and then I thought she was able to win the third round. And I know a lot of people were complaining, but she had like, a really tight choke in at one point where, she was with the gilly to the mount and then lost it. And then there was a scramble and Barboza got on top, but she did nothing with it. And even in round number 2, there was that like modified 2-arm in triangle choke that Karine Silva had the position of, and she was throwing strikes. So I felt like damage wise, Karine Silva did more in the second and third round. I guess you could say round number 3, Barbosa finished on top, but does finishing on top and not really doing anything win you the fight? A lot of times, yeah. So I think that's why the commentary was so shocked. Like DC, Anik, and Rogan, they were like, no, we definitely thought Barboza won. That was a robbery. But I can see why they gave it to Silva. I do think that the hype on Karine Silva has definitely taken a drop. I mean, at one point she was looked up at, a potential title challenger on the rise and one of the women to watch. I think she's pretty decent. Top 15 level for sure. Dione Barboza on a full camp probably beats her though. The reason Barboza lost, she didn't have the gas late. and they're 1-on-1 against each other. Like, I know it's not going to happen, but I genuinely wouldn't hate seeing the trilogy with a full camp Barboza this time because, to be fair, first round, she was really whooping Karine Silva and looked like she was on her way to a dominant win. But my assumption pre-fight was gas tank woes because of the short notice. And sure enough, exactly what happened. Karine Silva did enough to pull through, gets a hard-fought decision win, but not winning back the hype that she once had for me. No, no, no. Next one, Edson Barboza, Drakkar Klose. I never knew that Edson Barboza couldn't block a right hand. He couldn't slip out of the way of it. He couldn't parry it. Shit, he couldn't block it with anything but his face. Edson Barboza was getting stung up by Drakkar Klose's right hand in this fight. Got wobbled a couple of times. I thought this was a clear as day win for Drakkar Klose. Yeah, Edson Barboza was still firing hard, and in round 3, he's throwing decent shots, but Klose had moments too. And through the first and second, Klose outboxed him. Klose bullied him backwards. Klose was able to control the battle of the clinch and dictate the pace of the fight. Like, yeah, Barboza was reversing the position, but he wasn't really doing anything. When Klose would engage in the clinch, it was more so to land strikes. Drakkar Klose, clear as day decision. The biggest win of his life, coming back from a violent knockout loss to Yoel Alvarez. He needed this shit. And Edson Barboza, to me, looked a tad bit slow. I thought he'd be rejuvenated, moving up from 145 to 155, but I think it's safe to say Barboza's officially past his prime and washed. He was already past his prime, but I think officially washed. I don't want to take away from Drakkar because obviously he's got to be excited as hell. He just beat, a striking legend of the UFC lightweight division, but a washed striking legend who had some woes down at featherweight. Came back up. He looked slower. He looked sloppier and more out of position than before. And he got outworked by Drakkar Klose, who seemed to want it more and seemed also more primed too. I'm thinking about Edson Barboza, and I'm like, who would he really fight next if he sticks around? I'm trying to think, has he ever fought Jim Miller? Him and Jim Miller been on the roster a long time, but they never fought each other. If he wants to do one more, bless us with Edson Barboza, Jim Miller. I would like to see that. But like outside of that, I really have no interest watching Edson Barboza fight any up and comer or anybody, that's somewhat of a contender because he's definitely past his prime and he's showing like real signs of slowing down. He couldn't stop the right hands at all. Showed a big vulnerability to it. And Drakkar Klose deserved win. Congratulations to him. Put it on, Edson. Let's keep running. Next fight, Chase Hooper sold again. The chin of Chase Hooper is glass, guys. Enough of this, and I fell for it too, but like enough of this shit. We think Chase is coming into his own, his takedown game, his jiu-jitsu, and I'm sold. I'm sold. He decides to just try to kickbox with Alexander Hernandez. He looks like he's doing like Krav Maga style kickboxing, throwing all these spinning back fists. I don't understand. I don't get why he was so, willing to strike. And then I don't get why he spins so much. Couldn't wrestle, of course. Both of his takedowns got easily stuffed, and he shot pretty terrible takedown attempts on Hernandez. Hernandez just caught him with the straight that snapped his neck back. He goes down and then just turtled up, and like that was it. He didn't scramble. He didn't try to fall to his back. I think like with Chase Hooper, we have to just remember this because I think it's going to be a forever issue. When he gets hit hard, he turtles up and he's done. He's not one of those guys that's going to scramble and try to burst back up to his feet or grab. Like, he's going to quit pretty much. Like, he's going to just he's going to get teed off on. And that's exactly what happened. To be honest, like, if he would have just shown better body language here against Hernandez, I feel as though the referee wouldn't have jumped in and stopped it. But that punch hurt him bad, and he went down and he was finished with. And, Herzog thought it was enough. I don't know. There was 2 seconds left. So it's like you could have let it keep going, but I feel like Chase was finished with anyways. Hernandez now got a 3-fight win streak cooking. To be honest, like, I doubt they do this, but like him and Drakkar Klose wouldn't blow my mind. That's kind of a fair fight. Both won on this card. It's just, Drakkar is coming off this win over a legend in Edson Barboza, and Hernandez coming off a win over, a skinny grappler in Chase Hooper, who had upside, though. I'm not trying to take it away because I was backing his upside, too. I was singing his praises, but I don't know how much of a step towards, the top 15 this type of win is for Alexander Hernandez. But he has won 3 in a row, so he's in an interesting position. And I'm thinking about the rankings right now. Let me get ranking MMA on my screen here so I can look at some of the top 15 of this lightweight division. So looking at lightweight right now and looking at this, like they are outside of the top 25 for sure, but Is it crazy, I guess, on a win streak like this that he doesn't get more of a marquee style matchup? I mean, Alexander Hernandez versus like a Nazim Sadikov, Alexander Hernandez versus somebody even like a Jared Gordon. I don't know if the UFC is going to give him those type of fights, but he's kind of pushing towards that direction. He's got 3 wins in a row. He's been on a roll. What has he won? Like 4 straight lightweight fights. At 145, he sucked, as did Chase Hooper. Chase, obviously, though, the chin doesn't hold up. We thought 55 Hooper would have the chin on him. He doesn't. Hernandez drops him with a shot. And it's not like Hernandez is really known as a one-shot knockout puncher. I know years ago he knocked out Benny Dariush in his debut, but that was the fake glove touch into the punch in 40 seconds. That was, honestly, looking back at it, it was kind of insane. But I don't know, man. When you think of Hernandez, I guess he does have power. To be fair, he's got 7 knockouts as a pro. And he knocked out Mike Breeden. He knocked out Grutzmacher. He knocked out Benny Dariush. Now he knocks out Chase Hooper. He might be deserving of a Drakkar Klose fight. I kind of like that idea more than anything else. I'm kind of intrigued by how that fight would play out. With both guys probably not deserving a top 15, but getting fairly impressive W's, especially Hernandez. Hey, fuck it, why not? So Hernandez versus Drakkar is going to be my pick for Hooper. I got no fucking idea, man. His grappling's good, but you can stop his takedown and you punch him in the face, you might knock his ass out. Next up, Lupi Godinez and Jessica Andrade. This was Lupi Godinez's breakout performance. I mean, the first 2 rounds, especially round 1, she looked amazing. She was boxing Andrade up. She was able to out wrestle her a bit. I mean, 1 out of 14 takedowns, but still got some control time on the ground. And I thought Lupi Godinez looked sick in the first 2 rounds. Round 3, Andrade started landing big shots and putting it on her a bit, backing her up, catching her with punches, making her uncomfortable. And Lupi, though, showed the grit because she dug deep and she swung hard till the final bell, too, even though she was kind of gassing out a bit come round number 3. So I have to say, the grit factor of Lupi is real. And that's something that needs to be remembered, regardless of how great the gas tank might not be. That's the biggest red flag with Lupi Godinez is her gas tank is not great. Her gas tank is not great, guys. Her round 3, if she's in a 5-round fight, I worry Lupi loses. I'm thinking about opposition rate. And I'm like, hey, Lucindo Godinez. Godinez lost to Berna Jandiroba, who, is one of the mentors of Lucindo. Lucindo coming off the big win over Angela Hill. Before that, she had lost to Amanda Lemos. Lupi coming off the big win over Jessica Andrade. I'm interested in the matchup between Lupi Godinez and Yasmin Lucindo in a true, on the rise contender battle. And then the winner of that fight would, obviously get a bigger chance against one of the top dogs of the women's strawweight division. I like that one. Obviously, there's another one too. There's the Tabitha Ritchie side, but Godinez won the split decision when they fought, and I doubt they're running a rematch, but they might do Lucindo versus Ritchie. That's really what I'm saying. But I just kind of think Lucindo versus Godinez has a good ring to it. I'm intrigued by the fight too. I just wonder how that would look. Is Amanda Lemos booked for anything? Let me double check. I'm 80% sure she's got a fight booked, but let me see. Lemos is supposed to fight Tatiana Suarez. Yeah, and I don't know. I don't really see the winner of Suarez and Lemos fighting against Lupi Godinez, but maybe. Depends on the UFC. I do think in the first 2 rounds, Lupi Godinez can compete with any woman on the planet. But come round fucking 3, and then especially 4 and 5, I think she shows real signs of slowing down. And, I think she'd probably lose in a main event fight against even a Lucindo in a 5-rounder. I'd probably be favoring Lucindo. But in a 3-rounder, she could win. She's shown it in her past, too. She's beaten back-to-back Brazilians. I think give her another Brazilian girl. Godinez is solid. Boxing's real. Jab is on point. Parries are on point. She's got the Mexican boxing style, and it works well for her. Good win. And then the next fight on the card, McCall Oleksiejczuk and Gerald Meerschaert. This was an embarrassing loss for Gerald Meerschaert. He got completely destroyed on the feet. He failed on 3 takedowns, shooting way out of range and looking sloppy. Got completely picked apart and dropped and rocked and put away by McCall Oleksiejczuk. To be honest, Gerald Meerschaert looked like he had never struck before. It's how I envision somebody like Craig Jones or Gordon Ryan would look in a kickboxing match. He got fucking destroyed on the feet by Oleksiejczuk. And I feel like it was one of those like embarrassing destruction striking wise. Now, Oleksiejczuk been working with fighting nerds, and I gotta say the takedown defense looked better than it's ever looked before. What is a win over GM3? Does it earn you a top guy? Maybe not, but like GM3 is a guy that has, hung out around the top 30 for a long time. For Oleksiejczuk is definitely a step in the right direction. He made a crazy call out though. Oleksiejczuk said, "Hey, give me the fight against Marvin Vettori." I respect him chasing dreams with a Vettori fight. If they gave him a top 15 test next, that would be kind of wild, though. Because let's be real. I mean, Kevin Holland subbed him. Michel Pereira subbed him. He lost to Shara Bullet. He ain't getting top 15. But you know what's a fight that I really think could be cool? Him versus Bruno Ferreira would be a fun matchup. Obviously, Ferreira with the grappling edge, but the battle of fucking punching between those two would be one to watch. And then if not Bruno Ferreira, like I would love to see him versus Iron Turtle too. Especially with the improved takedown defense. Oleksiejczuk's a good boxer. He's always had pro level boxing, but his ground skills have been atrocious. Training with fighting nerds. I mean, at least in this one, the takedown defense look on point. But again, it is Gerald Meerschaert. But he put Meerschaert away easy, man. He made Meerschaert look bad. Like Meerschaert gave RDR a good fight. Like look at how easy Oleksiejczuk made it look. It's been a while. It's been a while. Like when's the last time Meerschaert really looked awful like this? Meerschaert, he looked bad against Joe Pyfer in 2023. But like Joe Pyfer is, top 15 caliber and fighting Abus Magomedov. Oleksiejczuk beat him easily and made it look easy, similar to that. I feel like you got to give Oleksiejczuk a fight that demands respect. And I think him and Bruno Ferreira would be a sick fight. I would love to see that. Maybe on the Brazil card, he's fighting out of fighting nerds. He'll get a little Brazilian support against the fucking native. I like that. I hope they do it in Rio for that fight night. I'm interested in that. Bruno Ferreira, Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. This was a breakout fight for Oleksiejczuk. His hands look better than ever, and takedown defense was on point. No grappling woes. First round knockout. Too easy. Next fight, Bissinger Susurkaev versus Eric Nolan. Susurkaev wins, but not without some adversity. Round number one, it was competitive striking exchanges. Nolan was able to box with Susurkaev pretty well and landed some big clubbing shots earlier in the round. Susurkaev was able to find some teeps to the body, back Nolan up, caught him with a nasty kick, seemed to have him hurt at some point towards the end of the round. And then Nolan lands a thudding hook over the top that has Susurkaev doing the dance, the chicken dance. He's wobbling. Susurkaev was hurt at the end of round number one, and Nolan really showcased some pop against the middleweight here. Nolan's a welterweight. He even said after the fight to Susurkaev, he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to fucking 170. Y'all too strong." And then round number two, Susurkaev destroyed the legs, hurt his knee, blew out the knee of Nolan with leg kicks. And then Nolan ends up on the ground and Susurkaev ends up strangling him. So Susurkaev did have the breakout win that he was hoping for. But I will say, like a lot of people in chat said, they feel like he lost a little aura, especially post-fight. They were saying, "Come on, say Bissinger, crowd chant with me." Everybody's just like not making a sound. He's good. Bissinger Susurkaev is clean. He's only 24, though. He's a young prospect, so he definitely doesn't need to be rushed up the ranks or anything like that. He's saying he wants to fight at Noche. I mean, if they can find him somebody of a similar level, that makes sense. I definitely don't think they should be running him up the ranks too quick. He's definitely a middleweight to keep an eye on, but he's 24, and we got to remember that. And he got caught big against Nolan. Now, Nolan has got a nasty left hook and a nasty right overhand, and he was on a big knockout streak heading into this fight, and we saw glimpses of that power. I'm actually really excited for Eric Nolan's next fight, because I think he can get some nice knockouts in the UFC. He's definitely one to watch at 170. I'm looking forward to when he fights at his proper weight class next time, because I really think he can do some damage to some prospects. For Susurkaev, like I'm thinking prospect fights, though. That makes more sense. Don't give him anything too crazy. Build them properly. Give them somebody that maybe hasn't even fought in the UFC yet. Or if you're going to give them somebody that has fought in the UFC, give them somebody that has obvious holes, like maybe a Tresean Gore versus Bissinger Susurkaev. Something along those lines to slowly move them up the ranks, okay? Somebody like the Jordan Santos, guys that have vulnerabilities, not somebody that seems pretty dangerous. I mean, they might end up doing Susurkaev versus Cody Brundage next year. I could see him end up getting the hand raised against Brundage. But you know what I'm saying? Like somewhere along the lines of they have flaws. He's 24 years old. Treat him like that. Don't just rush him up the ranks yet. He said he wants to fight in a very short amount of time in September. I doubt they get him that quick of a turnaround, but if they do, it could be anybody. I have no idea who they would call up. I don't know, Ismail Nardiev and Beisinger Susurkaev. I think those are winnable fights. I know he got caught by Nolan, but it's because Nolan can actually box a bit, and he's actually going to be pretty fun to watch at welterweight. Nolan's a good prospect too, and he's young at 27, nearly 28 years old. Jersey Tough, man. Jersey Tough gives fucking Chechnya a run for its money, man. Jersey Tough and fucking ex-Marine. Nolan was a dog round one. If the knee doesn't blow out, who knows, man? This fight goes different because he was outboxing Susurkaev. I'm very excited for Susurkaev's next fight. I'm definitely a fan for sure, but slow and steady wins the race with him. He had his big moment. He got the win, but not without getting fucking clobbered, and I don't think he expected to get clobbered like that. This was supposed to be the walk in the park, but round one, he lost. First round, I scored for Eric Nolan, so big W in round one for Nolan. Demands respect. Susurkaev pulls it together, ends up getting the finish, and looks like the dangerous guy that, you know, was the winner on the on the Contender Series Tuesday. I had him as a piece of the Lock City Contender Series Parlay Tuesday. And then he becomes a most confident pick for this card today. Pretty cool. Pretty cool for Susurkaev. Let's keep running. Next fight, main card opener. If you guys are watching and enjoying, make sure you hit the like button. And if you're new, subscribe. Tim Elliott versus Kai Asakura. Asakura's UFC career is just shit. Got the world title shot off a debut, lost by submission in round number 2, fights Tim Elliott in the second go, and has a damn good first round where his striking looks nasty. Lands a head kick, Elliott lands a takedown. I swear to God, that shifted the fight. Right at the end of round number 1, Tim Elliott starts making it competitive on the feet with his tricky, awkward style. Tim Elliott threatening positions. Tim Elliott throwing wild overhands. And Tim Elliott taking Asakura down. Finds his way into the fucking ghillie and gets the tap. Mounted ghillie. Like, listen, this is what Tim Elliott does. He finds ways to beat these guys. I don't know. At 38, he's still got some fight. Tim Elliott's been in the UFC a very long time now. He won the Ultimate Fighter comeback season. He's 10-11 now in the UFC. Over 20 UFC fights. Fought Kai Asakura, who was Ryzen's finest with the striking flow, and was able to shut that shit down and get a submission, keeping his UFC career alive, but like really just busting open the fucking prospect of Asakura. Because even after the loss, it was like, well, Asakura, if he gets a win, he could fight somebody like a Taira. You know, he could main event a card over at Saitama in Japan. Instead, he's probably going to be a fucking prelim fight on a Saitama card if they end up even going to Japan at this rate. So unfortunate for Asakura to get handled like this and subbed, but big success for Tim Elliott at 38 years old to turn up like this and show that he really is the fucking ageless wonder of this flyweight division. And I got to say, Tim looked just as good as ever. Pretty much the typical Tim Elliott, what you expect from him. I like the idea of Tim Elliott, Steve Erceg. I want to see Steve Erceg fight the gritty journeyman in Tim Elliott. He struggled against Ode Osborne, who's a dangerous striker, and he used his wrestling there. How will he look against Tim Elliott, who's got the strong wrestling and the unorthodox striking? I think Erceg could actually have some good boxing success there. I like Erceg versus Elliott a lot. I hope the UFC decides to book it. Erceg fighting last week, Elliott winning this week. I feel like we could set that thing up for later this year. Maybe they even do it in Perth. I'm sure Tim Elliott's willing to fucking take the flight. He's willing to fight anybody anytime. And I'm intrigued by that matchup, especially with him fraud checking Asakura bad. This is a rough one for Asakura. I do think he'll still have a spot on the UFC roster, but like, what's the next fight for him? Maybe they got to just give him a crazy step down. Give him a, Cody Durden, who's coming off of back-to-back L's, something along those lines. Give him a Matt Schnell. Give him a winnable fight. I think that's what he needs, because obviously he's not going to be top caliber, but they might just throw him to the Lions again, give him an up-and-coming grappler. You give him Azat Maksum, he might end up getting submitted in that fight too, Yeah, definitely Asakura's hype took a nosedive, especially because he's primed at 31, and to get handled like this. Kai Asakura, No, no, no. It falls apart. And Tim Elliott shows veteran savviness and good grappling skills in that unorthodox style. Respect to Tim Elliott finding a way. Next fight on the card, Jared Cannonier, Michael Venom Page. First 2 rounds were cruise control for Page. He stung up Cannonier. He knocked him down, but they didn't count as official knockdowns because like Cannonier was off balance. But Page stung him up with big shots, stayed on the bicycle well, fought off the takedowns of Jared Cannonier very nicely for the first 2 rounds, and really just gave him like a proper striking lesson in the unorthodox karate style and point fighting that he brings to the table. Come round number 3, Page is pushing a pace, and it's like, oh shit, Page is actually trying to knock Cannonier out. What does he do? He overshoots. He ends up out of position, ends up falling, and Cannonier capitalizes, gets on top, beats him up from top position, gets some fucking ground and pound strikes off, threatens Michael Venom Page, doesn't end up finishing Michael Venom Page, and Cannonier just rides out the round, outworking him from top, but still, you know, takes that 3rd round from Page, and he couldn't get up from Jared Cannonier. But Cannonier still loses. He needed a finish, and he didn't get one. He tried an Americana late, too. You know, he was going for it. Page gets another win in the middleweight division, and Page remains on the feet, a fucking puzzle that is damn hard to deal with. But there is worry of his grappling. Like Michael Venom Page versus some of the better grapplers in this division, I do think he could run into some trouble. I kind of like Michael Venom Page sticking around at 185 and fighting Paulo Costa because who the fuck wouldn't want to see something like that? But he still mentions going back down to 170. He said, you know, he feels like he's got unfinished business at 170. I mean, you could go him at 170 in a fight against like a Bonefim coming off the Wonder Boy win. I think he could actually win that fight against Bonefim, but Bonefim could push the pace in the grappling. He's going to be a lot faster than Jared Cannonier. But I definitely feel like looking how close that Wonder Boy fight is, maybe they got to keep Bonefim away from him. Could end up being a fucking terrible mistake. I doubt they give him a Prates. I doubt they give him a Geoff Neal who's coming off a loss. I just don't really like the idea of Page at 170 again. I'm kind of just dead set on him at 185 now. But it's really up to him because he himself is saying, yeah, I'm still interested in going back down in weight. I'd rather him do 85. I'd rather him just focus on one weight class and let's just run something with Apollo Costa because I think that's a good fight. I think that's a fight that makes sense. Him coming off a big win, Costa coming off a big win. Let's set them up against each other. And Costa, obviously, dangerous striker and a big body, a physical specimen, definitely more primed than Jared Cannonier, a good ability to close the gap and throw hard. Be interesting to see Page tested against a pretty slick kickboxer in Paulo Costa, maybe even a fucking weird 5-round fight, right? It sounds weird, Michael Venom Page, but Paulo Costa. But it also sounds perfect, Michael Venom Page versus Paulo Costa. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if I'm tripping with that matchup, but that was what really like stuck out to me. I'm like, yeah, that's the fight to make. Now for Jared Cannonier, I think he's in a weird spot. I do. I mean, a fight against somebody coming off of an L, but I don't know who he could retire, to be real with you. Him versus somebody like a Brendan Allen, though. But Allen's coming off of a win. Him versus a Roman Kopylov. Kopylov losing a Costa, formerly a ranked guy. That's a possibility. Hard to say what they do with Cannonier, but I do think he showed some obvious signs of slowing down, but still strong as a fucking ox when he gets to top position. Yeah, I'm excited for Page. Page Costa kind of makes sense because it's a battle of like very popular fighters, you know? And both are in that top 15. I mean, you know, for Venom Page getting this W here, it burst them up for fucking, you know, Costa, it burst them up recently. I want to see what they're actually ranked at officially. Costa is ranked number 12. MVP just beat the number 8 Cannonier. I feel like they'll have, you know, MVP ranked around number 11, number 10. A Costa fight's not crazy. Obviously, though, they could throw him a Brendan Allen, who's a very good grappler. And that's where things, I think, get testy for Michael Venom Page. If he fights someone that could take him down more consistently, his get-up game did not look good here against Jared Cannonier, and I could see him getting rode, beaten up, and even potentially submitted against like a really strong and athletic guy like a Brendan Allen at 185 pounds. But I do like Cannonier versus Kopylov. That sounds fucking fun to me, and I think that's the right matchup to make. We'll see what the UFC decides ultimately, but those fights jumped out and said, those are worth watching. But I do think Page striking looks great. Nobody's really able to touch him on the feet. And I want to see if somebody like Paulo Costa could. On the ground, different conversation. But I want to see the striking tested a bit more. Let's keep running. Next fight, Geoff Neal, Carlos Prates. The lore of Carlos Prates is completely back. To be honest, man, I thought about grabbing a cigarette myself and smoking one just for Carlos Prates because, I mean, shit, the performance he had was off the fucking chain. I feel like if I follow suit, I might end up having fucking better predictions. So I'm just going to put this right here to talk about the Prates fight. I think that Carlos Prates is one of a fucking kind. Clean Muay Thai, nasty power, precise attack, stance switch hitter, destroyed the legs of Neal, was able to just slowly but surely find openings, knees to the body, stinging him to the body bad. Fucking Prates was in the fight. He was sitting in the pocket with Neal a bit too. Neal's trying to wing hard shots. Prates not even affected. Prates is a beast. And if you come to fight him, you're going to find his counters, man. And the spinning elbow flatlines Geoff Neal. It also opens up a nasty gash and blood is leaking all over the place as he's out cold on the canvas. Lock City Parlay leg one for me was Prates. You see why. He looked fucking amazing and he got such a violent knockout of Geoff Neal. Once he made his reads, it was over. I think that Carlos Prates should get his wish, man. He called out Leon Edwards. He just got a sensational knockout on the biggest card of the year. And I feel as though it depends on this, if Edwards is willing to jump in and fight in Rio, that would be fucking amazing. That would be a great fight to make. Leon Edwards coming off back-to-back L's, Sean Brady below. But grapplers, Leon Edwards now getting a shot, fight against a good striker in Carlos Prates. I don't think that's crazy, but I got another option that I think the UFC might consider. Joaquin Buckley, Carlos Prates could also be quite cool. They could also potentially run that shit at UFC Rio as well. So maybe more of a chance that it's Buckley as opposed to Edwards, and maybe Edwards would then get an Ian Gary. Obviously, Gary having the win over Prates, and I'm sure he wants to get a fight against somebody like Leon Edwards for the name value, you know? We'll see what happens. The welterweight division is red hot. And Carlos Prates, definitely a fucking problem in this weight class. I mean, definitely like terrifying striking. The reason Gary was able to win is because his point fighting style, staying away, slick movement, quick punches. You sit in there with Prates and you can't run because there ain't really nowhere to run. And he's countering you, you're fucked. And we saw that with Geoff Neal in this one, who was violently chinned. So the lore of Prates, more than back. I say yes. Give him what he wants. Give him a fight on Rio. It might not be Edwards. It might be Buckley, but I'll take that as a close second choice. And how the fuck would people not be excited to watch those two slugfest? That's a great fight. Joaquin Buckley versus Carlos Prates, definitely one that stands out to me. I'm intrigued. Next fight, co-main event. Aaron Pico's long-awaited UFC debut. Somehow he's the favorite against a guy who's undefeated as a pro and in the UFC as Lerone Murphy. I guess if you're undefeated as a pro, of course, but undefeated in the UFC and as a pro in Lerone Murphy. Pico came out fast. Pressed Lerone Murphy backwards. Got the takedown. Got two of them. Got on top of it. Tried to ride him out a bit. Hit him with nasty body shots. That actually seemed to hurt Murphy. But Murphy always fires back. Landed a nasty elbow on Pico, and then Pico went in for the takedown. But Lerone Murphy had Pico rocked with that. That was a big shot. Even Murphy trying to ghillie from fucking, the defensive position. Ends up finding a way back up to the feet. They're striking more. Pico's fast. He's throwing shots, but you can see that moment where Pico overly sits with his head on the center line, sits a little too long in the pocket. What happens? Lerone Murphy hits him with the fucking spinning elbow, and we get back-to-back spinning elbow knockouts. Was he inspired by Carlos Prates in the fight before? Highlight reel. Spinning elbow KO. Flat goes Pico before he hits the ground. As soon as the shot landed, he was flat out. And then Murphy hits him again as he's completely out. Oh, my God. Lerone Murphy got the cherry on top win that he finally needed, really, to break into contention. Lerone Murphy was getting no respect from the title picture because, yeah, he was 8-0-1 in the UFC, but he hadn't beaten anybody that impressively as of recent. He won decisions against Edson Barboza and Dan Ige and Josh Emmett. Well, they fed him Pico, who's the hottest prospect coming outside of, PFL Tour. And Lerone Murphy made it look easy with the spin elbow. Now, he was tested early in the fight, but a fight 3.5 minutes long, it can be considered making it look easy. And Pico goes flat back, flat out, violently. Highlight reel for Murphy. Right away, Volkanovski calls him out for December on Twitter. Bam. That's the fight to be made. Lerone Murphy should be fighting for the world title, and I absolutely love the matchup. An undefeated fighter for the belt? Sign me up. Lerone Murphy's thriving and on fire. And now there's no, oh, but what about Movzar? Movzar pulled out. He was injured. He was supposed to fight Pico. It didn't happen. Murphy steps in on 3 weeks' notice, and he knocks him out in the first round. One of the sickest KO wins I've ever seen. Back-to-back, some of the sickest KO wins I've ever seen. Yes, world title fight right away. Now, I want to talk about Pico because there was good moments for Pico. His vulnerability is overly sits in the pocket. Defense isn't great. He's a little bit chinny. But he's a fucking power bomber. It's a tricky situation to be in for an Aaron Pico. But I don't hate the idea of him fighting Dan Ige, who's coming off of a loss to Bellator legend, Patricio Pitbull. That's a more proper fight. I mean, the thing is, they gave Pico such a rough go off rip. It's like, hey, welcome to the UFC. You're fighting Lerone Murphy. Or first it was, you're fighting against fucking Movzar. I think we got to pump the brakes sometimes with these guys coming from other leagues matchups, and, you know, they threw him to hell right away. I'm interested in seeing Pico's career play out. I want to see what he brings to the table, but I also want proper matchups. I don't want to see him fight Steve Garcia next. I don't want to see him fight a Doo Ho Choi. I don't want to see him fight even a David Onama. I want to see him fight somebody that has holes, somebody he could beat, maybe a Giga Chikadze. That would be a proper fight, or a Dan Ige. Those are two fights that make sense. Good fighters. The fighters where he can potentially thrive and win. My God, bro. Aaron Pico, in every like big step fight, he got violently chinned or slept. I guess he got put to sleep with the choke. I remember that Bellator fucking fight years ago when he made his MMA debut against Freeman, the 8-2 guy, and he got subbed up in 30 seconds, put to sleep. Had some knockout losses over in Bellator, worked his way through the ringer, 9-1 over his last 10 in a nice 3-fight win streak. But the opposition level was nowhere near Lerone Murphy, which is why I picked Murphy, who was a big underdog. I don't even understand how he was an underdog, really looking at it. No respect from the bookmakers. And I think that Aaron Pico should fight somebody at the back end of top 15 or even out of top 15. Dan Ige or Giga Chikadze. Both of those seem like winnable fights where he's got the big grappling advantage and maybe the hands can really be on display, and he's probably not getting caught with a spin elbow. He's got a fun style. He's only 28, but I will say Aaron Pico has taken some fucking damage, man. 3 violent knockout losses on his resume. That Aaron Pico chin is testy, guys. I'm telling you. He's got that James Thompson chin. If you're an OG fan, you know what I'm talking about. The glass slipper jaw. He do got a bit of a glass slipper. Now, Murphy's incredible, and he landed a spin elbow. Who the fuck's doing that? But I will say, that Pico chin, I promise you this, I don't think it's the last time you see him violently knocked out in the UFC. But winnable fights against Giga Chikadze or Dan Ige next makes sense. He's a very fun fighter. He's got an awesome style. Look at the way he digs to the body. Look at the way he wrestled early against Murphy and was manhandling him. Pico's fun. It's just, there's no defense. It's just all offense. And, you know, when you fight like that, fight against crafty fighters that got a lot of experience, you probably ain't just going to overwhelm them. They're going to find the hole. So Pico in one of those spots makes the most sense, but I am excited for Pico's second UFC fight. Don't get it twisted. Pico is still a fucking hot prospect. Pico is still a fun one to watch. He just fought a #1 contenders fight in a debut at 28 with no UFC experience. Yeah, he gets violently chinned against an undefeated guy. Murphy Volkanovski in December. Bravo, UFC. You got the fight now. Yes, please. I want to see it. I love that matchup. Big win for Murphy. Let's jump to the main event. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Listen, simply put, a masterclass in manhandling. We saw it with Dolidze Hernandez last week. Hernandez masterclass manhandle. We saw what Khamzat here. Look at this total strikes. 510 to 56. Khamzat Chimaev landed 12 of 17 takedowns. Khamzat Chimaev had cardio for days. I told you guys he would. He's working with Sam Calavita. He's evolving. Khamzat hit the takedown in the first 20 seconds of the fight. On top, beat the shit out of Duplessis, passed to the crucifix, and was pounding on him. Like, some referees are going to stop it when you have the opponent crucified and you're just peppering shots. Even though they're not knockout blows, he's landing continuous shots. Just rode Drickus Duplessis for pretty much all 5 rounds. Consistent takedowns and beating him up. Takedown, control. Crucifix, ground and pound. Submission threat a little bit, but not a ton. Du Plessis fought out of the potential rear naked choke attempts, I believe round 3 or 4. It was the Khamzat Chimaev, though, showing how good of a grappler he is and how physically strong he is. I said years ago. To be honest, I made this pick when I first started the channel that Khamzat's the future champ. And it's just his destiny. And I feel like a lot of people really thought Khamzat was just destined to gas out in 2 rounds. Like, that's all he is a gasser. I'm like, no. He manhandled Drickus du Plessis for 5 rounds, showing him levels on the ground. 510 to 56 strikes is insane. 21 minutes of control time is insane. The best moment for du Plessis was round number 5, ends up on top of it, trying to throw some ground and pound. Tried to jump a gilly, failed, got reversed, ended up on top late again, and then Khamzat finishes the fight on top position with like a second left. Khamzat's grappling was too much. He manhandled throughout. And to be fair, I think he could have forced, reversing the position quicker, but he knew he was way ahead. He made Drickus du Plessis look like he really had no wrestling in the arsenal, was just a tough dude who knew how to fight out of submission attempts. Khamzat was so positionally dominant that the fight just looked like a man versus a fucking child. This was unfair, and this is our fucking pedigreed world champion, Drickus du Plessis, getting manhandled, thrown around like it was his fucking job. My God. Couldn't stop the takedowns. Had a little bit of late takedown stoppage success, but still getting taken down constantly. Khamzat Chimaev's grappling was so fucking dominant in this fight. Khamzat Chimaev put it on Drickus du Plessis, beat him up for 5 rounds. I don't get this narrative that this fight was boring. I think those are the Drickus du Plessis backers or the anti-Khamzat fans. Khamzat put on a wrestling and grappling control, ground and pound beatdown for 5 rounds straight. Sure, he didn't get the submission or a violent TKO, but he busted Drickus du Plessis up. He literally made Drickus look so mediocre on the ground, like he wasn't good. Drickus couldn't move. Got rode out and beaten on. It's not like Khamzat just held either. And he got gifted some stand-ups from Mark Goddard against the cage. They stand them up. Khamzat was in a dominant position wearing them. Why are we standing up? Even from full guard, Khamzat is throwing shots and we're standing it up. I thought that the Mark Goddard stand-ups were a little bit of du Plessis bias, standing against Khamzat, looking to make it a little more of a fight for the Dutchman du Plessis, as Strickland would say, the South African savage. He demands respect. Drickus is great. I got love for Drickus. I just knew it was over, before this fight was even booked. And especially at the press conference, like I could feel the energy. I knew it's the Khamzat show. Listen, Khamzat is a different animal. I don't think this fight was boring. I thought this was a showcase of levels of grappling and a masterclass that earned him a $50,000 performance bonus. It should. 510 to 56 strikes should earn you a fucking bonus. 21 minutes of control time is insane. Nearly 22 minutes. Khamzat took Drickus down constantly. Trip takedowns, double leg takedown, dragging him to the ground against the cage. Mat returns, riding him, back lock, body control, backside position, body control against the cage. Peppering shots, trying to take his back, threatening with the fucking crank, getting to mount, crucifix position numerous times throughout this fight. It was the fucking boogeyman performance where it's like, how can anybody deal with this level of wrestling threat? Who is there? Fluffy Hernandez sounds fucking very fun to me because Fluffy's a good wrestler with nasty jiu-jitsu, but even him, I don't think he'd win the positional battle with Khamzat. And Khamzat's striking looked good too, and his cardio in round 5, like he was moving nice. Able to block and parry the kicks nicely, throwing shots at Drickus. Got hit with like 1 decent right hand on the feet in round number 5. The best shot of the fight for du Plessis. It was a pitch perfect performance for Khamzat. No fucking boring win. This was pure and utter dominance here. And it was historical dominance that should be celebrated, not shit on. This game is not just stand-up. This game is the overall game. And Khamzat put on a wrestling clinic. Khamzat put on a peppering, ground and pound and positional dominance clinic. And he got his jiu-jitsu black belt after the fight, which I agree. Because you got to be a fucking real black belt to hold down a savage like du Plessis like that and just beat on him. Like, sure, du Plessis didn't get submitted because du Plessis is tough as fuck and never quits on himself. You saw that in round 5. But he was outmatched on the ground in every fucking position, and he lost a bit of the striking battles too. Khamzat was looking fast and sharp. This had been the destiny for Khamzat. And my God, the way that he manhandled Drickus du Plessis, everybody's shitting their pants. Caio Borralho, Nasruddin Imavov winner has to be next. RDR versus Fluffy Hernandez winner would probably be next up after the fact. But if you're like Adesanya, you even want to think about challenging for the belt, du Plessis manhandled him. If you're Strickland, fucking du Plessis took him down. They don't got a shot. They ain't going 5 rounds. They're going to get finished. Du Plessis is a fucking monster for surviving. The plot armor is real for du Plessis. It's just Khamzat is the kryptonite to the style. Khamzat did his thing. My God. I love this performance for Khamzat. One-way traffic, obviously, second leg of the Lock City parlay to make the night a fucking success, and it hit. But besides that, just as a Khamzat fan and a fan of elite level martial arts, that grappling dominance and positional control was bar none the best fucking thing I've ever seen as far as dominance on the ground. Didn't get to finish, but didn't need to. It was almost worse for du Plessis to get manhandled. Probably better off is giving him up the neck. My God. Du Plessis in a rough spot after losing this. I mean, I don't know. Du Plessis could end up fighting somebody like a Fluffy Hernandez or RDR next. I have no idea what the UFC decides. I know he's going to want to get back in the mix, and those are fights that make sense for the former champion. And with Imavov and Borralho already scheduled to fight in the Paris card, I think it's easy that the winner of that fight would then fight against Khamzat Chimaev. Can either of those guys deal with it? The Borralho fight, I could see Borralho's grappling matching up better with Khamzat. Striking-wise, it's interesting too. But I will say, when I think about Khamzat versus Imavov, I think he gets submitted. I don't think Imavov can stop the onslaught. I know his grappling's decent and his striking flow is very solid. But we've seen Brendan Allen control position and dominate a guy like Imavov. At least Borralho, we've seen all positives in the grappling defense and offense side for the most part. I think Khamzat's a boogeyman. I don't know what the talk is of him fighting Ankalaev. That's weird, or him going down to fight at 170. No, let's focus on this division because we got 1, 2, 3, 4 contenders that really excite me. Even a Strickland fight, make it 5 that excite me. If Strickland is able to put together 2 wins, like put Strickland in it. Just for the fucking pre-fight shit talk and the disdain the two will have against one another. I'd love to see that. But I think Khamzat manhandles a Strickland. I think Khamzat definitely throws around an Adesanya. I really think that Fluffy is the true dark horse. RDR too because of his wrestling, but the speed disadvantage though on the mat. I don't think RDR is subbing him. I think Khamzat's going to be so much faster. I don't know. Hernandez just jumps out to me. The Hernandez name carries weight. Something about Hernandez. If like Hernandez fights du Plessis and let's say he submitted him, I would put him into. But Borralho's ground skills are good. Borralho's a cool fight for Khamzat, but I think Borralho could end up getting wrestle fucked too and beaten up similar to how du Plessis did. Especially now 5-round cardio Khamzat. This is like a mythical fighter unlocked type of situation. It was amazing for Khamzat Chimaev, and his level of dominance is insane. We know who's next. I mean, it's between 2, but it's the winner of Imavov Borralho. But the UFC even said, like, they'd be cool with turning him around and having him fight in Abu Dhabi. I don't know if the Imavov Borralho winner would be ready. So then who would it be? Maybe then it's RDR. Or maybe then it's Fluffy Hernandez. Which one carries more weight? Maybe RDR because he has the win over Whitaker. I don't think they give Strickland another title shot, but UFC could do weird shit just because of the disdain and set up that matchup. But I think Khamzat would ragdoll Strickland so bad. At least like RDR, Hernandez, Borralho, you can say, oh, well, the grappling threat, or even Imavov, if he's able to strike, his sniper style could be dangerous. I don't think Strickland's got the power to deal with it. Yeah, Khamzat's the chosen one, guys. And the most deserving contender will be Borralho or Imavov, whoever wins between those two. Early lean. Imavov's striking is so fucking good, man. If he's able to defend some takedowns against Borralho, I do think he could be the kryptonite. But then I could see him losing worse to Khamzat than a Borralho would because styles make everything. Du Plessis, Fluffy Hernandez jumps out, or du Plessis versus RDR. Either one of those fights are fucking amazing. Middleweight's on fire right now. Even du Plessis without the belt. Any du Plessis fight is huge. Yeah, he got manhandled by Khamzat, but it's Khamzat. And I'm telling you, nobody's manhandling him like that again. Just Khamzat Chimaev. Bar none, the chosen one. Maybe Fluffy would catch him in a weird sub or something, but I still wouldn't see that same level of manhandling. But damn, bro, if somehow we can get Fluffy versus Khamzat at some point, that's a dream fight for me, and I really hope that comes to fruition. UFC 319, great card. Great card. Ended up finishing so strong. It was sensational. Some weirder prelims, but Amazing, amazing card. I loved it. 319 capped off great. Fucking dominance in the main event at an elite level. Back-to-back violent knockouts. MVP fight was okay. Elliott's upset was insane. The fucking Bisinger Susurkaev and Eric Nolan fight was sick. GM3's knockout loss. Oleksiejczuk looked fucking crazy. Yeah, this card was great, man. And makes me proud to be a fan of this fucking amazing game. UFC 319 brought the heat. Now, I do want to go over the predictions for the card. So, perfect call. I had Khamzat Chimaev in the main event. I thought he'd handle business. I thought there was a chance he'd get the sub, but I say he could be ready for 5 hard, and he's going to showcase that he got cardio now. And he absolutely did. Honestly, better that it went 5. So he proved it that he's got cardio and he's not just going to gas against everybody. Picked Lerone Murphy as a dog against Pico and mentioned the knockout chance. Did I think it'd be spinning elbow? No. Picked Prates by knockout over Neal, sensational. Picked Page by decision over Cannonier, sensational. I thought the over 2.5 was money. I picked Asakura, as we all did, and Elliott came through. Respect to Elliott. Called Susurkaev over Nolan, comes to fruition. Thought GM3 would find the sub against Oleksiejczuk. It didn't even go there, besides Meerschaert getting knocked down. Picked Godinez by decision over Andrade, and I love the over 2.5 there. Loss, obviously, I had Hooper against Hernandez, and Hooper still can't take a shot. Thought this one would be close. Pick Barboza, but, you know, it was not like a betting situation. Drakkar close handles. Pick Silva by decision. She comes to fruition. And then pick Joseph. No, I picked Alibi Idiris. Almost gave myself too much credit. I thought he would do better. My God, Morales looked amazing. So we started off 0-1. Then we went to 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, 2-3, 2-4, then 3-4 to close out the prelims. 3-5. I'm like, oh shit. Starting the main card off with a big upset. But then 4-5, 5-5, 6-5, 7-5 overall. Okay. And high confidence picks with Chimaev and Prates in the Lock City parlay hits. Also the overs parlay hits, which I was pretty fucking hype about, with the Godinez over 2.5 and the MVP and Cannonier over 2.5 as well. So that's good. And then the safe zone parlay with Susurkaev and Chimaev at -171 also came to fruition. So, you know, if you were playing some of the safer shit, came to fruition. Some of the degen shit did not. Obviously, some L's of fighters like Hooper, and then underdogs that didn't happen. The Rizzy Boyev fight getting canceled. I really feel like Chimaev Rizzy Boyev was going to fucking hit as well. That would have been a great parlay, but unfortunately, battle, can't make weight, fight canceled. Overall, I loved UFC 319. I was very happy to have called it many years ago that Chimaev would handle business. So as an analyst, it felt good to see that very early on in the run for Khamzat Chimaev, finally living up to the destiny later than we thought. We would have thought he'd be a champ in 2023, but in 2025, it was the perfect time. I hope you guys enjoyed the recap. Smash the likes. If you're new, subscribe. Definitely let me know in the comments what you thought of the fights. I disagree with this boring narrative of Khamzat. I think that's crazy, and that's why he got a 50K bonus. I thought he looked sensational. Violent knockouts on the main card. Bonuses went to Chimaev, Murphy, Prates, and Tim Elliott, all deserving of big bonuses with sensational fights. Yeah, 2 nasty violent wins, 1-6 sub, and this 1 complete and utter shutout from Khamzat Chimaev. So I thought it was a great card, but let me know in the comments what you guys thought. If you got nothing to say in the comments, drop a W in the comments to boost the algorithm for your boy. Thank you guys for the support. Thank you guys for watching the Fight Companion. Show went parabolic, over like 160,000 live views. So much love to you guys. I love each and every one of you guys. Road to 52K. Picks coming later today for the Shanghai card. Yes, I'll be live at 3 a.m. for that card next Saturday. And then Contender Series picks on Monday. So keep it locked in on the channel. Love you all. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for the support. Peace out.